go it alone?
Well, of course, the English taxpayers would be tremendously better off, but we don't, as UKIP, we don't want that to happen. But I don't see how Scotland are going to survive economically, even if they were to get control of the North Sea oil revenues and so on, which are largely under foreign investment now anyway. I mean, how are they going to survive independently without the 10 billion a year that's coming into them from England? Oh, no, I wish them well, but I don't see how it's going to work. But can I just go back quickly to the foreign minister that the independence guy there was looking for Scotland? At the moment, they're only a region of the EU. They're not an independent country, not even a pseudo-independent country. They're a region of the EU, the same as Wales, London, and the Southwest, and all these other regions. We are governed by the EU, and if the Constitution goes through, which Blair is threatening to sign without giving us a referendum, heaven forbid, but he's saying he'll do that, we will all depend on an EU foreign minister.
Here's Carl in Harlow. Hello, Carl.
Stephen, good evening. How are you?
Doing all right, man.
Good. Give it to them. Give them the referendum and shut them up. We won't have to have these discussions every week, every day, all the time. Just put an end to it. If they want it, if they vote for it, like you say, there's 5 million to vote. Get out there and vote. If you want it, have it.
Well,
that's democracy in action.
You sound like someone, Carl, who thinks you're more British than they are.
I'm in favour of democracy. We're supposed to be fighting in Iraq for that. You know, if the Scots want independence, let them have it.
I think that's exactly the point. At the end of the day, we should be able to have a vote on it. If the unions think they can win the vote, then why not hold a referendum on the position? Let us decide one way or the other whether we want independence.
Carl, would you not miss them?
No, like a hole in the head.
Why?
Because we've subsidised them for 300 years. Let them get on with it on their own.
If you look at public spending in Scotland for 0405, it was 47.7 billion. Total revenues, 36.4 billion. So the deficit was more than 11 billion quid, or 12% of Scottish GDP.
That's according to the government figures under GERS, which specifically excludes oil revenues. So therefore, if you specifically excluding oil revenues, which would be there for independent, it's a totally different financial picture. And if you look at what happened, there's been independent. Look at this by, I think it was the. Trying to think who did it. Fraser and Allender Institute looked into this, and now they said that the current level of public spending could actually be quite easily achieved if you included the oil revenues, and the fact is long term we'd have much better opportunity for growth, because at the end of the day the growth in Scotland is actually lower than the rest of the UK.
How much Scottish resentment, Joe Middleton, is there towards the English?
It's not a matter of having resentment towards the English. The resentment is towards being controlled within a union where we don't have a proper say on important issues. At the end of the day, if we were independent, we'd control these things ourselves. If you look at Ireland to the left of us, if you look at Norway to the north of us, the fact is these countries do a lot better in Europe than Scotland does. And at the end of the day, if we were independent, we could do just as well, I think. There's no reason that the people in Scotland should be uniquely incompetent to run their own affairs. The whole idea is ridiculous.
I'd be very interested actually to hear from you tonight if you did vote for the SNP, whether it was a protest vote against Labour or whether you really were voting for independence. The telephone number tonight, 0500 909 693. The text, 85058. Here are some of the texts actually coming in. Richard in Glasgow says, I think the Lib Dems are being completely absurd by not entertaining a referendum. It sounds undemocratic to me. Bernard in Newcastle says the SNP may have won the largest number of seats, but in the PR system, the first past the post rules do not apply. The majority in Scotland rejected the referendum option. Who's this? Linda in Glasgow calls herself a real Scot. She says, I'm ashamed of my Scottish clans for the shambles we now have with a new weak, lame duck executive. The SNP will cost us everything and gives us nothing. Rebuild Hadrian's Wall pronto, says Paul in England. Here's David in London. Hello, David.
Hello, Steve. Great show. Alex, I'd just like to say one thing to you, right? When the English football fans go abroad, especially in Europe, Holland, Belgium, France, some of the banter they sing to the other fans is, if it wasn't for the English, you'd be Krauts. If it wasn't for the English in 1939, 1940, where would you be?
Yeah, that's your message to Alex Salmon tonight. Thank you. Here's the news at 10:31.